That's actually how that song's supposed to end. Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the Gaffing the Truth once again. My name is Jeff with the G, and right here, to my right on the screen, is Scabs the Clown, and it's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Scabs.
It's my birthday. Thank you. Thank you. I'm finally 19.
That's right.
Yeah.
And as you guys may have noticed, we do have the tip line. The tip line is for Scabs, so buy him his virtual birthday shot.
Yeah.
Because you can't do that live right now because of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's the reason why we can't get together and do this, together.
Yeah. Thanks, Obama.
Filth Screamer's already on going, man's out here trying to bring back the bucket hat. I'm with it. That's right.
Yeah, Filth Screamer, you know what's up. I was just like, I need to go put on a random hat because I don't feel like doing my hair. And I got this for when I went to the river. I was like, yeah, whatever. It's right here. I never wear it anywhere else. So yeah, bring it back. Bucket hats for everybody.
There you go. You just got to throw some pins on it that you can change in and out and go that route.
Yeah.
Like some weird, gutter punk Fisher.
Yeah, I'm definitely a product of the 90s wearing a fucking bright orange bucket hat and being comfortable with it.
Well, to be fair, you wear most anything and you're all right with it. So I think you just you make it work for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not matching at all usually, but I mean, I got bright green shorts on, black shirt, bucket hat. Yeah, this is my life, color and stupid clothing. I'm okay with it.
There you go. I'm rocking my Scabs the Clown metal shirt.
Hell yeah. I got some new stickers coming in. They're not that logo. It's a whole new logo. There was the death metal logo, and then I had some of this style.
Oh yeah, those are good too. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the new one is a whole new design that my buddy did for me.
Oh, I can't wait for that one. That one I'm on board for.
Yeah. I only got a limited run, so I mean, I'm gonna pass out maybe 10, 15 of them to my friends, and I'm only gonna have 10 or 15 of them left. So yeah, I'll put them online and I'll mail them to whoever wants one.
So yeah, I've got this flask. It is a legit flask.
Oh, yeah. I've seen those.
Yeah. It was for Christmas, but I went, I'm just going to start throwing friends' pictures. So, I've got our friend Scabies the Clown on there.
Yeah, Scabies. I was actually talking to Scabies earlier.
Yeah. Oh, I still got to submit some stuff in. All right. Put that back. We'll get started. All right. So, today, we're talking, Old Humble Guy says happy birthday. So.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So we decided we were going to talk cryptids this week, and we left it up to you, the viewers, the people who are fans of us, on our Facebook page, at Gaffing the Truth. And left it up to you guys what we should talk about. We had choices to talk about Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
We could talk about the Loch Ness Monster.
Mm-hmm.
El Chupacabra.
Mm-hmm.
We even gave you guys a choice on what you wanted to have. And then we had one other that seemed to win, pretty handily, by a couple more than anybody else, and that's the Mothman. So we're going to talk the Mothman today because
it's weird how popular the Mothman is for
what it is.
Only a handful of sightings, only a handful of reputable sightings.
Well, yeah, outside of a specific period in time, which is where the most prevalent, but it's been seen since then. And I've actually, as we progress, I actually have a picture of somebody who supposedly took a picture of one a couple years ago.
Yeah,
and so I had that.
I think earlier this year and maybe sometime last year. Last year, it kind of popped up a little bit. People the sightings were popping back up again.
Yeah.
That's the reason we do this show. It was a drunken idea one night because I'm a cryptid nerd. I did minimal research on this. Mothman's not necessarily my favorite, but it's definitely interesting. And hey, let's face it, Richard Gere is a great actor.
Richard Gere is a good actor who can be in shitty movies, like the Mothman Prophecies, the 2002 piece of shit.
Yeah, and apparently a new Mothman movie came out this year. I looked at that when I was kind of looking up stuff earlier.
Yeah, no, so earlier today. I deep dove. I watched a couple of documentaries, and that popped up in my queue. They go, "Hey, you want to watch this too?" And I go, It's got like Jewel State, who was in like Firefly and stuff like that. And
Okay.
so like,
Okay.
so it's one of those. Like, I like her well enough. I mean, but it's one of those. Obviously, the level like like she's the named actor in the movie, which is nothing against her. It's just that whole. This can't be
Yeah.
a. No, I didn't
Yeah.
go.
No,
I ended up
movie
watching a
like
bunch of
that once, and it was,
documentaries, and it just got really, really fascinating.
mhm.
So for those guys that aren't aware, the Mothman, the official version of the Mothman came to be in November 12th, 1966. The first quote-unquote confirmed sighting, what is known as the Mothman that we know and love today. 5 guys were in a cemetery digging a grave in the middle of the night.
When else do you do it?
Yeah. When this weird thing kind of flew by, that only described as like a bird with
Flew,
bright
right
red.
above their heads is the way they describe it.
Yeah, but like a huge bird man
Mhm.
sort of thing with very large
Well,
red
that was the
eyes.
headline. It was a Birdman creature thing. That was
Yeah.
literally the headline in the
Yeah.
newspaper.
So yeah, that was the first official sighting of what we've come to know as the Mothman. The most telling thing actually came out a couple weeks later. That was I'm gonna pull up their names because I'm gonna screw it up because it's the most. I don't want to say the most credible because it's not necessarily the right term, but it's probably the.
I mean, I
best
don't know
term.
if anything's credible in this on this episode.
True, but the one that usually gets called back a lot because it's the first like true like that one was saved because they found out about that thing after this other thing that happened. And they went, yeah, then they got published, and the guys from the cemetery goes, hey, wait a minute, a couple days earlier we saw blah 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 blah. On like no so it was like November 17th or 18th. It's late at night. 2 young couples from Point Pleasant, West Virginia, which is where all this sightings happened around Point Pleasant. Some a little bit farther in West Virginia, some a little bit more in Ohio because it's right there. It's a border town.
Yeah. Point Pleasant was like very, very much the central of most of the sightings.
Yeah. So 2 couples, Roger and Linda Scarberry and Steve and Mary Millette, had told police that they saw a large gray creature whose eyes glowed red when the car's headlights picked it up. They described it as a large flying man with 10-foot wings that followed their car. Here's the other thing. They drove like 10 or 15 miles, and this car was keeping up with this thing was keeping up, if not surpassing them, and they were going like 100 miles. It's at one point like some
They were
straightaways
going
100
well
miles.
above the speed limit.
Well above the speed limit. But what's interesting about this, which I find very, very fascinating about this thing, and they're like that, is the reason why Point Pleasant is, like, at least if you want to get conspiracy and weirdness, the reason why it's a big deal for this area is because of what they call the TNT area.
Mm-hmm.
Which was a munitions depot for the Army during World War II. And
yeah, like they literally like TNT, ammunition, other explosives, all kinds of
TNT.
stuff there.
And
that's the stuff we know about.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Supposedly they closed down soon after World War II, and then it just became a dumping ground for hazardous chemicals and nastiness.
It also became a dumping ground for teenagers to go necking and parking.
Well, yeah, because it became then it became a wildlife, it became a dumping ground, and then it became like a weird wildlife preserve. So it was that whole all right, cool, let's put lots of Army munitions, then let's throw a bunch of crazy chemicals, and now let's the wildlife go back in.
Yeah, it's fun.
So
this isn't in any way a hidden test by the government whatsoever.
No, not at all. Or at least something really weird with mixing the weird peanut butter and jelly to make this fucking weird ass creature. Now,
Wait, I was literally just talking about homunculus yesterday.
Yeah.
So we're breaking off. We need to do an episode about the homunculus. If you don't know what that is, YouTube it. It's fucking weird, dude.
Yeah. Well, here I'm gonna do this. This is my fun picture right here of the Mothman, like artist rendering.
That is actually Mothra.
No, that's a full dude, man. That's got arms and legs. That's a man with wings.
That's Mothra's babies from a Godzilla 2000 Tokyo SOS. That's what the babies turned into, because all you saw was the larvae.
It's the same difference. It's still a cool picture, and it looks like a Mothman. That's what,
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't look in any way rendered on a computer whatsoever.
No, it's definitely an artistic rendering. That's what that is. It's definitely. I mean, they never discounted that. It wasn't like it's a. I can show
Oh
you a
yeah,
real picture of a supposed one if
I've
you want, but we'll
I've
get
seen
into that
some
later.
really I've seen some really cool pictures of the Mothman, and I really think that's why it became what it was, because like the pictures look super cool. Even
Well,
like the silhouettes just look super cool because
well,
it's always like tattered 10-foot wings with glowing red eyes and claws. And when I got so close, I got too close, and my head started buzzing, and
well, yeah. I don't know.
there was somebody who went blind from seeing it because they looked into its eyes too long. Um,
Uh,
yeah, like the lore of it is just wild.
well, yeah, and it's all 95% of all the lore stems from November 12th, 1966 to December 15th, 1967.
Yeah. So like just a little over a year.
Yeah. Here's the crazy stuff beyond that, just that sort of stuff. For one, because one is we don't not sure what it is, but there's a whole bunch of other crazy shit going on in that area at the same time. Like UFOs took a huge uptick in sightings, like well over 100. Yes, well over 100. I'm telling you. Entertain them.
Is
I
that
gotta
a
put them outside.
UFO?
Yeah, he's letting me know there's a UFO. Let me put him outside.
You know, there was definitely a like an uptick of like most like any kind of like paranormal sightings. So people talking about UFOs, people talking about ghosts, people talking about seeing stuff coming out of the water like around the area, like stuff like and definitely stuff around the bridge. And the stuff around the bridge just kind of became Mothman.
Yeah, I
Because it
think
was like a figure climbing on the bridge or standing on the bridge or next to the bridge or yeah.
that's yeah. So far, the reason why we talk about the bridge, people aren't aware, like because December 15th, 1966, the Silver Bridge.
Just watch the Mothman prophecies. It'll explain everything perfectly. Yeah, there's no misinformation. It is story spot on, and I'm a fucking liar.
Actually, I watched a thing called it was made in like 2017, so it's pretty recent. Like it's a little over an hour long. It's on Amazon Prime. It's called Mothman: A Case for Point Pleasant, I think is what it's called. It was really nice and talking. They're going. This is what people say. Like basically, it was a lot of nobody. You know, they talked to a lot of people who had sightings, and then other people who are like there's a dude there that is kind of the quote unquote Mothman expert who runs the Mothman Museum. He's also the guy who runs the Mothman Festival in West Virginia, which is like the largest festival in West Virginia now. It's been going on since
it's coming up in November.
September.
Well, oh, September. Yeah, it is September. It is September. Yes, that's right. It's like right before Halloween.
Yeah, it's one of those. I just went, all right, cool. But anyway, back to what I was saying before my dog decided he had to go outside.
Before you get back to that, speaking of that, there was this whole like other tangent that I read. Like there was a whole bunch of like links to random news sites going, now why would President Trump share this tweet from the mayor of that town about the event? Because the mayor was standing in front of the statue and he just took him. He was like, hey, get ready for the festival. You know, he was, being a good mayor. And Trump just like saw that on Twitter, I guess, and shared it. And he was like, I stand with him. And everybody's like, oh, what does that mean for the Mothman? What is this? Where's this leading to? What's going on with this?
Nothing.
I fell down that hole a little bit.
Oh no, I'm sure. I avoided that hole.
Did this, and we think it's something else.
Oh, I saw that hole. I stepped away from that. I wasn't about to dive into that thing.
I wanted to see what people thought about it, but there was no real like anything about it. Like every article just pretty much said the same thing. It was like Trump retweeted this. What could it mean?
Nothing.
Yeah,
but Trump wasn't paying attention.
He just saw somebody that supports him and went, "Yeah, share."
That's probably all it was. Like probably the mayor is probably was at least a moderate Trump supporter at the time, because it was a tweet from like last year before.
Yeah, it was last year. Yeah.
So it wasn't even like recent. It was like well before this. So anyway, as I was saying earlier. During that period of time, there were well over 100 UFO sightings with some weird shit involving UFOs. Like, not just people seeing weird stuff in the sky, but actually people interacting with said beings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there was a lot of reports going, they're like, was it the Mothman? And they were like, no, it wasn't the Mothman. It was a UFO, or it was an alien. Like, it wasn't the Mothman.
No, that's one thing. Is like a couple of fun reports. One was it like somebody saw like a weird, like almost cigar shaped vehicle land in a parking lot of like a Piggly Wiggly or something like that. Two men, regular dudes like you and me, getting out of a ship, come down with coming down.
Yes, we're the perfect example of regular dudes.
Well, like humanoid. They look they looked very human. But it had like the weirdest accents, asking where things. Basically, they're coming down. They're coming down, asking for directions for all intents and purposes, with a really, really weird accent. But like not like an accent that it's this is the '60s, so people at least heard things like Russian accents and stuff like that because of TV. Because
and that was one of the things about the Men in Black. It was a nondescript accent, or they talked in sing song.
Yeah, that was the next thing that happened was people who saw these events and the Mothman events all of it going. Every single one was either visited or had a note passed to them to not talk about stuff. And the people that were visited say they saw young adult males, nondescript looking in black suits, and just coming in and going. So the thing you saw, you didn't see
that. No, more like. The thing you saw, you didn't see that. Like that's how they.
Well,
talk.
so yeah, we'll see. Some did, some didn't.
It was sing song. It was weird accents. Like their accent would change, like either like sentence to paragraph or word for word. Like like there was a whole bunch of weird reports. Like especially there, because I remember reading a lot about that. I mean, but that's like Men in Black all over. We should do a Men in Black episode. Men in Black would be
that'd be a fun one to do. That one,
but no, I've got a weird knowledge of Men in Black. Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones, perfect. Now you need to check out that documentary.
Yeah, and then the other big alien thing before we get back to proper, because there's a whole other thing to get along with this, is a being by the name of Injured Cold. The Grinning Man, who actually has a lot of lore outside of the Mothman too, which is weird. Which is what gets really, really interesting in that too. But some dude said like, what was it? Like a guy was driving down the road, and a ship, what looked like a weird ship landed, but it looked like a hurricane lamp with both the ends burning fire as it landed. Then this being came out who looked mostly human. I mean, it's dark out, it's hard to tell, but grinning in the ear completely entire time, just smiling smiling that biggest Joker smile you can smile throughout the entire time. And once again, asking directions and where everything was and stuff like that. It was like this weird international kegger was supposed to be happening at some point in Point Pleasant, and nobody knew the exact house, and because that's what seemed to be happening. But Injured Cole has here I pulled this stuff up because the reason why he sticks up beyond that is because supposedly he was from the planet Lanulos in the galaxy of the Ganymedes. And that's when when he talked to the dude about directions, that's how he introduced him. Was, "Hi, my name is," and supposedly it's a whole race of these weird greening men out there. Anyway, we can talk. That could be another when we go back to aliens.
That could have been the first episode.
Yeah. Or just like when we get into aliens, like weird alien species like that. But it's just really weird that and then there's a weird supernatural element. Like every show we've done so far has some weird ties, at least loosely, to everything about the fucking Mothman.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because they thought basically thinking like that.
People were reaching so hard because I mean it's Point Pleasant, like
5,000 people.
Yeah, like middle of nowhere, and like they're not even 1,000 people that are close to each other. Point Pleasant's like spread out. It's in the woods.
Yeah, but
like,
the city,
and then everybody just kind of lives out in the woods around it.
The city proper is at best 3 miles wide. So it's one of those. It's not a big place. But it's also one of those stuff everybody knows everybody too because it's so small.
Yeah. Yeah, and like that was the thing about it. Like that's one of the other conspiracies that I've heard is like literally the town wanted to bring attention to itself for tourism to get people to come there to like build money. So the entire town was like, we're gonna lie. and we're all gonna say this. I've read that conspiracy, and like, there's always the yeah, I was there. I lived in the town at that point, and then I couldn't handle it anymore. I couldn't take the lies. And it's like everybody who didn't comply to it, they would send the men in black to them. They would just have people dress in suits and talk weird. Like, dude, there's a whole weird thing about that.
Oh, I'm not doubting that at all.
No, not MUFON, but some one alien group people. They got blamed for actually just having their members dress in suits and go door to door, or go, like, if they heard a report, they would go mess with these people just because they were trying to, like, get it to pop a little bit more. So other people, like, who weren't into anything, they'd have, like, people come up to their door and be like, whatever you saw, you didn't see, we don't want to have to come back here. And they'd get so scared, they'd call the cops, and the cops would report it to the news. And that's how, like, things about the men in black got spread around. I mean, in that thing only, because the men in black actually go back hundreds of years. It's weird.
Oh, there's a big, long, deep history of the quote-unquote men in black. But actually what's weird is, as I'll get into this now, the sightings of what we now know as the Mothman in that area are actually far older than 1966.
I've heard about this. I don't know much about this part, though.
So, yeah, I found that. This is what I also found interesting. So, if we go back, because Point Pleasant was founded in, like, the 1770s. And, of course, like every place else in America, there were other people who lived here before the white people. And,
no way.
Yeah, I know, really. Well, there was actually a huge tribe in the area, and they were having, there were problems back and forth, believe it or not. And so, finally,
the people who came onto their land without knowing they were there and then took it from them, there was an issue with that?
Yeah, I know, right?
That's weird.
But, but your people don't have an understanding of what ownership really is, and you guys just view yourself as caretakers, not owners, so it gets really weird. Anyway,
yeah,
I digress.
There's a whole bunch of that, too.
I digress. Anyway, the chief for this tribe, whose tribe escapes me, but the chief's name always turns out to be, the chief's name was Cornstalk, Chief Cornstalk.
Yeah, it wasn't, oh, God, this sounds really familiar. I can't even think of it. It wasn't Lakota.
No, it was a much smaller tribe. It was like one of those things I think I'd heard, like, it's not one of the big tribes. It's a small tribe.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm thinking.
It's like the Lashi or Lani or something like that.
I think they were like people who left Lakota to, like, start their own tribe or something.
Anyway.
That sounds familiar. I'm probably wrong, but that sounds really familiar.
Anyway, so while the peace treaties are being dealt with and stuff like that, some of the settlers just straight up and just like fucking just went to town and murder-faced Chief Cornstalk. And rumor has it that he set a curse in the land for 200 years, onto the land where things would happen. And sure enough, you look back, of course, there's problems like there is in the inner city, but you also have a city that's right on the major thoroughfare of two rivers. So yeah, in the 1915 floods that killed a bunch of people and did thousands of dollars of damage. That must be the curse. It has nothing to do with the fact that you're in a valley surrounded by rivers. Anyway, so the rumor has it that this part of the curse was this weird bird person, which is also very common in a lot of native folklore, was a type of large kind of vengeance, the thunderbird, you got the raven, you got all that sort of stuff. You can work with it, works that imagery that has been causing this sort of stuff too. So the bird person, there have been sightings of the bird.
Sucks because I immediately thought of Rick and Morty.
I know, it's for bird person.
Bird person.
But the fact is that there have been sightings of a human-sized bird thing since well before a Mothman. It's just like when it became moth. Somebody just said it looked like a moth, and that's what stuck. like when it's the print media goes. It's the it's the tooth fairy when it should be called the red dragon.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It has wings, and the first thing that came to my mind was moth.
Well, some dude just went because of the glowing red eyes. Probably remind him of a moth in the flame. So I guess I get that. With the glowing red eyes.
I feel like that's a reach. I've never understood the name, just because like moths, like when you think of like, hey, this flying creature, and it flew right over us. It's like, a bird could do that, a bat could do that, but when I think of a moth and the way they fly, it's like they're all over the place. Moths are basically blind, and they go for where the light is, and they're trying to get to the light, and sometimes the heat of the light, and that's why they're like flying crazy, and bam, 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 they run into it. So it would make more sense if like they're like, yeah, this creature just flew at us, and then it ran into the fire, and then it like went for the street light, and then it like just went all over the place, like.
Especially because it's the '60s, so what else existed? They could have easily called it, Batman, because at least in the popular culture lexicon. But no, they went with Mothman for some reason, and just so one of the reasons, and the newspapers picked it up, and that's what it became. That's just the way it works. Just like somebody coins it first for some weird reason, and then it becomes that sort of thing. Even though none of the descriptions, outside of like the big, huge glowing eyes, which that's kind of moth-like, at least appearance, but nothing else about it is moth-like at all. In fact, they're related more to like a bird.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, so much so that there was actually during that year, a scientist from some university came down and goes, "Nope, it's not that. It's actually this bird." I'll pull up that picture right now. Which, to be fair, I guess in the dark you can kind of see what we're talking, but it's like that whole definitely this is what they saw.
Yeah. Were you able to find a photo of it with its wings out?
I can do that real quick. Because I wanted to get a good picture of the head.
It does
you can
have
see that red.
The big red. It has the big red on its face, and it's actually. It's kind of hard to tell. It's obviously a big bird, but those birds get like 5 to 6 feet tall with like a 7-foot wingspan.
It's a sandbill crane, is what it's. And they it's definitely within the flight path for one.
Yeah, the flight path, their migration path, is fairly close, and that might have just been one that like got tired or got hungry and went like, let me peel off and go see if I can find some munchies, and then I'll come back.
And then
which is extremely common.
Yeah, and then you corner it, like putting it near something that has like weird, like for example TNT, which has a lot of garbage in the wildlife area. Try to find one.
And also, a large amount of the reports said, I just saw it standing there, and then I shined my flashlight on it, and it tried to attack me. And it's like, cranes are not like the most like docile creatures. They're skittish. Like you could there's one 100 feet away and you could sneeze and it'll take off. It freaks out. Yeah. So I can understand they shine a flashlight on this thing in the middle of the woods and they just see this thing and they're like, what is that? And then it just goes, rah, and just like starts flying at them. Yeah, I'd freak out too.
Yeah, that's how it works. Let me pull that up. I found one with a big wingspan and kind of get an idea. You don't really have anything next to it, but it gives you a better idea as far as looking at it, how imposing, especially when it ends up being about 5 feet tall. And you get scared. It's not like you intentionally exaggerate, but you just obviously your judgment of size is wonky.
Oh yeah, for real. I get that all the time. Yeah, I deal with bugs and insects and all that fun stuff. And people will tell me bro, I saw this cockroach. I swear to God, it was this big. I'm not lying to you. It is this big. I'm like, that the largest roach in the world only gets like this big. So you saw a tree roach and you freaked the fuck out.
Yeah. It's possible on occasion a mutation may make something a bit larger, but it's still an exception,
the
not the rule.
largest roach ever reported was, I think, 4.5 inches.
No, I'm not saying that. It's like between that and this. But even still, the difference is by like even if like a crane, it normally ends up with a wingspan of like 5 feet. At most, it might go maybe a little closer to 6 feet, not like going 12 feet.
Yeah,
I'm not saying anything with gigantism necessarily.
The accepted explanation of the wings of Mothman are 10 feet.
That is 8 to 10 feet, yes. Which at 6 feet and you're scared in the dark, that's an easy judgment to make because you can't really see. It's not like and it's very popular. It has the red bill, so if you shine a light on it, the red will definitely ring up and stuff like that. So if there's any light, it'll catch. And if it's something that may have had may have been a little dirty or sooty or something like that, it can look that way, especially in the area. Especially TNT was not known to be a clean area, so some grimy water.
Yeah, grimy water. What if it was molting a little bit? It's missing feathers, so it looks gnarly. Yeah, like it's patchy. Like it's the middle of the night. Like, yeah, it's gonna scare the shit out of you. Of course, I get it. But still, why a moth? You know what? Actually, now that I think about it, a moth because it was seen at night. I think that's mostly what it is because it's night. Because birds outside of owls. Which that was another thing people talked about. I go, well, maybe it's an owl. No, it's not an owl. I would go, why not Owlman? Raptors. There's all kinds of birds that hunt at night.
Yeah, Owlman, because owls are everywhere.
Yeah, and owls can be terrifying as well.
And they have that that one breed of owl that's like fucking huge as shit. It's not native in the U.S. It's the only thing.
No, yeah, I know which one you're talking about. I think what
it stands like 4 feet tall without weight. Like it's just massive.
Yeah, but I think the biggest one here, like it's not even that big, like a barn owl maybe, and they only get like 2 to 3 feet.
Yeah, no, like cranes and stuff like that because of the legs, they can get pretty tall, and with those wings, like especially the sandhill crane will actually have that big wingspan. So that is at least a credible. A very credible sort of reason why it might be. But what fun is that?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, that's all you can really come up with. Like, there's been plenty of other like explanations for other cryptids where it's like, okay, it looked like this. It was like, well, maybe it was this. And it was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But it's like, no, it was the thing I saw. Fuck you. I saw the thing. If you don't believe me, fuck you. And I was like, no, I'm not saying you didn't see that. And then other people were like, well, they're getting attention. I want attention too. Yeah, I seen it. And it was right outside my window next to my tree. And I yelled at it to go away. And then my TV went staticky. I got a headache afterwards too. That was another big thing. People looked into its red eyes and got a headache.
The one thing I really like, I'm going to pull this up because I found like it actually like when watching the documentary today, they actually talked to this guy, which is why I find it really interesting when you pull it up. Newell Partridge, Newell Partridge is a really interesting one. It's like 66, 67, whenever else stuff happens. He was sitting down watching television with his wife in his house. And while he was watching TV, it was just getting the TV was getting a higher and higher pitch sound. Continuing a higher pitch sound. That was getting really, really annoyed with it. So much so that he was about to get up and turn off the television because back then, that's how you turned on and off the television. You get up to the
side. You had to get up.
The TV blew out. Like, so he's freaking out. His dog's there freaking out too. And like, the dog goes outside. You can hear the dog yelling outside, like on the porch outside. So he goes outside going, what's going on, dog? He has a German Shepherd. And he looked out, and like dogs barking down the field way, which the only thing out there is like an old pump house. It's late at night, it's probably late at night relatively. It's probably 8 or 9 o'clock because during those times, TV usually ended between 10 and 12, depending on where you're at, and most people didn't stay up that late. So usually probably 8 or 9 o'clock is just probably the time period. And dogs just barking, and what he could see in the distance was like these 2 red discs kind of swirling about and kind of a little misty area because it was kind of misty out there. Because he didn't see eyes per se, because it looked like 2 discs. Like he said he swore it was like a helicopter, except he couldn't. But there's no sound. Like you didn't hear a helicopter. But that's what it looked like. It looked like almost like a helicopter movement, like with lights on the end. And then the dog took off towards it, and was never found again.
That I've heard that same exact story with like almost every other cryptid.
Yeah.
My dog went after it and it died.
Well, they could never find the dog.
Yeah, no, like it was either it died or it got severely injured or the dog was never to be seen again.
Yeah, it's
it's always like a similar story like that when like there's a dog involved. The dog barks at it. They go, no, stop, don't do it, but don't do anything to prevent the dog from doing it. And then the dog does it, and then a bad thing happens to the dog.
Yeah,
it just seems more like like a tug at the heartstrings to make you believe a little more kind of story.
Yeah, but I mean, it was one of those things that happened around that time because like there's a lot of weird beyond just the Mothman. A lot of weird shit was happening in that area at the same time with the UFO sightings.
One of the other Mothman claims was people were getting people who came in close contact with it were getting a severe sunburn. And one of the more popular stories was there was a couple out at the old TNT factory, and they were they were up there necking, and they didn't want to report the story because they weren't a couple. They were.
It was for the time period. It was
yeah.
Not.
They were stepping out. They were stepping out on their significant others. They met up. They went up there. The makeout spot, and the Mothman was right there by the car, and it freaked them out. And them being so close to it burned them. They gave them like a sunburn, and that's when they had to report it. They didn't want to, but when both of them, the next day were both bright red, and it's a small town, and they both go to the doctor because they're both bright red. It was like, they had to come clean. So that there's a couple other reports of that happening, but that's definitely the most known one. And I think it's just because it's got the funny little backstory to it.
Well, yeah, because it's salacious. Yeah. But Ed said that because of the limited amount of time and things happen with, what's really crazy is that once the Silver Bridge collapsed, which for the record, I have heard nothing about any sort of supernatural impropriety around the bridge. It was just a bridge that was built for Model T cars and not, for the time,
Cadillacs.
Cadillacs and stuff like that.
Cadillacs and Bel
Airs. It was a Friday at 5:00 during the holidays, and there's actually two towns the bridge actually. There's actually on the Ohio side. There's a town called Gallipolis, and then Point Pleasant, and then so this bridge was connecting the two across the Ohio River, and basically it's just because of it was a perfect storm itself. It was just like a bridge that wasn't maintained,
and it was a suspension bridge.
Yeah,
that was built when people figured out how to make suspension bridges.
Yeah,
suspension bridges are they're a great design for certain things. They're pliable, they're good for wind and other conditions, but when it comes to 5:00 traffic with 1,700 tons on it,
and doing that for a couple, let's go for a couple of decades, and who knows how many Army things went over that during the time too. So it just at that date is when it collapsed, and over 46 people died.
On the camel's back.
Yeah, so 46 people died, hundreds of thousands injured. I saw some pictures and people took in watching videos where that bridge went away. Yeah, Richard Gere couldn't save them.
No, he jumped into the water to save people, and ended up. I don't want to ruin the rest of the movie. Maybe he saved them, maybe he didn't. Not movie, documentary. Watch the Mothman Prophecies. 2002, so it's obviously a real true story.
Because because it was set in modern times as well. Wasn't it was a period
weird,
piece.
Right? I think they had cell phones and shit, didn't they? Yeah.
It was set in modern times. Basically, they retold as if it was happening today, which would have been then.
No, actually, I don't think they had cell phones, but I think I remember a beeper or two.
It was one of those. It's 2002. Cell phones were there. We're here. There, cell phones were starting to gain prominence.
They were just about there for the norm.
Yeah.
You still had they were still big and blocky and for businessmen.
Yeah, well, he was but it's just It was just really interesting, like watching that Mothman Prophecy is written by John Keel, who passed away in 2009. He was actually a paranormal
Yeah, he wrote it in
investigator.
like 75, right?
Yeah, that was released in 75. That was the second telling of the Mothman. First one was actually in 1970 by Gray Barker, who is a science fiction writer.
Yeah, I remember that.
Who was there at the same time. Basically, it's like Gray Barker, John Keel, and there was actually a local reporter who actually was the one who kept track of all this stuff because somebody had to from the local desk for the newspaper. Her last name was Heyer. Who's now also passed away, and they all worked together, and that's where all the narrative for most of the stuff came from, was through their works. And I think each one went a kind of just a slightly different. I think Heyer kept with the human element, making sure to take care of. John Keel went really off the deep end because supposedly it's a lot of weird shit happened to him while he was writing the book and staying there, because he was there during all this as well, just like
Richard Gere and
I think Richard Gere was very obviously the playing his role.
Yeah, and it's said based on a true story. He was there.
Yeah, and he supposedly, like, all the weird stuff, getting the weird phone calls and following and stuff like that happened in the movie, that supposedly happened to him too.
Yeah, no, I heard that, like, after the movie and during the movie, and it was, like, weird that, like, somebody would do that to me while I'm filming a movie about that.
Yeah. So that's really just weird. It's like a really interesting story and stuff like that. And then once the bridge, Mothman sightings went away. Now I don't know whether that's because everybody's
went away until recently.
Well, I'm not gonna. Let me get. They went away.
Steal. My bad. I ruined it all.
They went away. Now, was that because the Mothman actually went away, or is it because people didn't care because they're grieving because all these people they knew died? Anyway, so sightings, while still occurred in the area, not only started getting prevalence against. Yes, right over there, Scabs the Clown, right there.
The crane migration ended.
Oh, at that time they don't go that way anymore. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, the crane migration ended.
Oh, because
they found another route because global warming and other stuff.
Or extinction or whatever. No, they're still alive.
Yeah,
There's ain't no
cranes. Yeah, they're definitely still alive. You can't get rid of cranes. They're like the pigeons of the exotic bird world.
I don't know, whooping crane.
Well, they called them whooping cranes because they used to beat them because they're aggressive and scary.
They also made big whooping sounds. That's why they're called whooping cranes.
No, you're thinking of the whippoorwill.
No, that's whippoorwill. That's why they're called whippoorwills, because that's what they're. That's a lot of birds. Really enough, a lot of birds are named after the sound they make. So it's really fucked up.
Random fact: the tokay gecko. That's the one I was talking about earlier. In Vietnam, the Vietnam soldiers coined it after the chirp that it made. So it's a tokay gecko, but the chirp that it made made them name it the "fuck you" lizard because it sounds like it's going "fuck you, fuck you."
That's amazing.
And they're extremely aggressive.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
It's New Yorkers in reptile form. That's good.
Yeah. I had one. They also have a lockjaw.
Ooh,
I got bit by it one time and I had to sit there and I was like, I'm just going to watch a movie until you decide to let go.
Yeah, because it's just... That's crazy.
He was on me for about 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It didn't hurt. He got me in a good spot. He got me like right here. So, I mean, it wasn't bad. It was just there. And I'm like, I couldn't pull him off because I'd break his jaw. I didn't want to squeeze his jaw because I would break his jaw. And if I tried to pull too hard, I could decapitate him. So I was just like, okay, you got to hang here now.
But going back to the Mothman, and yes, the sightings, and weirdly enough, his Mothman sightings have not been limited to just in that area, at least since then.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some recent stuff, like finding out, Russian ufologists claim that there were Mothman sightings in Moscow right before the 1999 Russian apartment bombings.
I remember those.
Then I've got...
Vaguely, very vaguely. I remember those, though. I remember that being talked about.
Yeah, then...
Not the Mothman, but the apartment bombings.
Yeah, supposedly there was Mothman sightings during that time too. And then a couple of years ago, back in Point Pleasant, some dude moves to Point Pleasant, doesn't know shit about the area, he just goes to work because there's a lot like there's manufacturing jobs and stuff like that in the area, so that's he goes to live. It's cheap to live at, make good money. Anyway, he's out like partying with his friends and stuff like that, you know, doing whatever, and then he sees some weird shit flying through the air. And I'm gonna pull up a picture.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, I know. Yeah, which in no way looks photoshopped or anything.
I'm just saying that's like there's like 3 or 4 pictures of very similar stuff.
No, like yeah, it was a legit. It's one of the more popular photos of Mothman.
About 2016. This happened about 2016.
Yeah, that's one of the more popular ones. I think that's the reason like it got like back into like I guess public view, like because like it just kind of died for a while. Like nobody talked about it anymore. It just stopped.
Yeah, and then actually my favorite. I'm sorry, I can pull it. I'm gonna find it real quick. Is actually there's a thing happening. I think last year, year before was Chicago supposedly has a Mothman. Now whether it's a Mothman or somebody saw a freaking like crane that had
a crane, yeah,
a crane with like some like garbage bag stuck to it, like you know, because it's fucking Chicago.
I actually heard about that. A lot of the reports, like they're like experts say that it was probably a crane with something in its feet that people saw, which made it look bigger, like it was carrying a snake or had fish or something, which made it look bigger than it actually was. It's like that makes sense.
It's all really fascinating. Really, I think in the end, I think this is one of the original creepypastas. To be fair,
like I mean, there's only a handful of like cryptids that I actually believe are plausible. Mothman isn't really one of them.
No, it's
Mothman, Jersey Devil, like.
Well, it's the
Spring Heel Jack. Spring Heel Jack is super interesting, though. I don't think we could fill an hour on it, but Spring Heel Jack.
We can do a couple of like Spring Heel Jack. I think like we can do like a couple of the smaller ones, like like somebody
like Jackalope, Spring Heel Jack.
Jackalope. I think Jackalope's more the fun ones. I think like with Hoop Snake and Furry Trout. I think we can do Spring Heel Jack. We can talk the Ozark Black Howler. That's another one, a smaller one. The New Jersey Devil.
No, oh god, it's the something woods monster. The Flatwoods Monster. Yeah. Flatwoods Monster, the alien. I was thinking the Montauk Monster earlier, but that was a gaff that somebody left on a beach and freaked out people. Like what was it? Montauk in like that Jersey.
Yeah. That New England.
Yeah, England. Yeah, it was like New York, New Jersey area. But yeah, the Montauk Monster. Some taxidermist just created it and like just kind of walked to the beach and like tossed it on the ground. There was a whole bunch of like controversy and crazy shit all about it, and then it disappeared because he just kind of went up and took it back. Yeah. And he was like, "Hey guys, I made the thing."
I mean, I figured that'd be fun. We could do like something like that at some point. We'll just be like, "All right, cool. We'll talk about some of the smaller ones that doesn't have as much play." There's like the big, like Louisiana has like a big lizard.
One of the most well known, but there's not shit about it.
Well, like the thing is, there's a lot of things. Spring Hill Jack also has weird serial killer ties too, which goes a little deeper.
With like
with Jack the Ripper and stuff like that.
Jack the Ripper and
see, that's where we can deep dive that way. So that we actually can turn Spring Hill Jack into a full episode. We just go, all right, cool. Here's the weird shit that is like the weird creature stuff, and by the way, it's also kind of about this too, and deep dive into which. I mean, to be fair, Jack the Ripper is a really cool kind of because there's a lot of conspiracy on who he is.
I've said I want to kind of keep away from like true crime.
Yeah.
When we do this stuff, but like Jack the Ripper, like that goes a little beyond true crime because of all the controversy, all the.
Well, I mean, it's like, and it's plus it's over 100 years ago. It's not like we're talking about anybody today. We're not like we're talking about like the Golden State Killer.
I think they actually pinpointed who the killer.
Who they believe to be. There's actually I've heard
it was like 3 people, but they've narrowed it down to 1.
One they're pretty
this
sure.
Is pretty recent, like within the past like year or 2.
It's one they're pretty positive, but there's one other person they're going. We're almost positive this guy, but that dude also really possible.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about because there's also the theory that it was like, hey, maybe it was both of them.
That was talk.
Yeah.
That's talk. Or rather, up to this point, it was one dude, and then that guy went off elsewhere, because one of the people they say that it could be is like dude from the U.S. America. So the reason it stopped is because he left.
4 ideations of the book The Lodger turned into movie, and there's only been one good one in my opinion.
What, of Jack the Ripper?
No, The Lodger, the book. There's a book called The Lodger about Jack the Ripper.
Oh, okay.
And then there's been I've seen at least 4 movies made.
There's a couple of movies called The Lodger. There's one or two of those.
Yeah, more than likely they're about Jack the Ripper.
One or two, at least
there's one that's set in modern times that was pretty good, and it had the dude from
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking of. I think I remember seeing that one because it's set in modern.
It was the dude. He was on a TV show in the '90s. The redheaded guy. God, I can't think of it.
Yeah, the redhead guy.
I want to keep wanting to say Titus, but no, that wasn't it. It's him and his wife. They were like rocker people. Anyway, no, not important. But yeah, we can deep dive on that sometime. That'd be fun.
Yeah. I figured that's old enough we can go because there's a lot of weird supernaturally conspiracy stuff involving Jack the Ripper as far as the legend. So, and we're talking about the legend of Jack the Ripper.
The lore.
The lore. All right, cool. That'd be fun. We got 9 minutes. Let's get the plugs and we'll just fuck around until we close out and stuff like that. All right, so this week, Wednesday, I'm starting a new season of The Devil's Hour. So I'm changing up some of the looks and stuff like that. I'm going to have some really fun stuff. I have an artist, actually a burlesque performer who's coming from, who's in Berlin. So I'm
nice.
Truly international. It's really cool. Berlin, Noeline Labouche is going to be on the show. And still fits within guidelines, Twitch. It's fine. It is a burlesque performer, but fitting within guidelines. Yeah. Then I have a really cool multi-instrumental artist from here in Austin called Mobley, which is really good. Then Martika, the One Woman Started Show, is going to be showcasing some flyer stuff.
I know Martika.
Our good friends.
I've seen Martika live before. Got to see Martika at the Hootenanny one.
I know, so did I.
Really sweet person.
She's really, really nice. So she's actually her second time being on the show. So we're going to have some fun stuff. And last but not least, there's a band called Beauty and Chaos. They're from LA. But they have people in the band that come and contribute. People like Robin Zander from Cheap Trick. Al Jorgensen from Ministry's done a track or two with them.
Nice.
Curse
I was
Matt.
actually, before I called you, when I was eating, before I was eating dinner, I was working on some plant stuff. And I mean, what better to listen to when you're trying to relax and, move around plants than Ministry. I was listening to the Rio Grande Blood album.
It's a good record.
The one that talks nothing but shit about Bush.
It's a good record.
Because that's still relevant.
It really can substitute Bush for
one of my favorite newer Ministry albums. It's got a great flow to it.
No, it's actually a really good solid record. So
yeah.
It's a little topical for the time, but although it really can substitute Bush.
It really
for
is,
Trump
but it's very hardcore, like thrash industrial, and I like that. I like that sound a lot.
Yeah, no, good. So yeah, that's for that. Then on Saturday, I've got G-Spots. I've got that firmed up with some clown. I got to confirm with him about some stuff.
I was actually going to talk to you about that as well to confirm with that clown.
Yeah.
See if you that was still going to be the thing.
Yeah,
I'm down for it.
Yeah.
But if you have somebody better in mind, I totally understand because I got somebody bitching to me about the fact that I had their friend on before I had them on, and they introduced me to them. But to be fair, that person was already on Cabin Fever live stream.
Well, that's the problem.
It's their friend up, Oscar, obviously, yeah, Oscar from last week, and it's my good friend Ben Habanero. What's the other name?
Vicious Delicious.
Vicious Delicious. I kept wanting to say Vivacious Miss Audacious.
I've had her on, and she's like,
yeah, you have had her on, but I keep wanting to say that because the names sound so similar.
Well, the reason is because he had a show.
Changed his name up a lot, and I'm going to talk shit to him if he ever sees it. He'll never see this. Fuck you, Ben. I love you to death. He hit me up. He was like, wasn't I supposed to be on your show? And I was like, well, technically, I asked Oscar before I asked you. So when we had to change things up, I went back to Oscar.
Well, we'll do our thing next week because the week after I have somebody planned. So
yes, no, the week after I have somebody planned as well, and I'm super stoked about it.
I do too. I'll always say I'm gonna have Pickles on here.
I mean, it's not a surprise or anything. Who you got?
Pickles LeVay.
Pickles LeVay, nice.
Yeah.
Let me pop in and say hi, and I'm gonna wear my shirt.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah. I'm gonna have Tinderbox.
Oh, you finally got Tinder. Oh, so it's going to be a really good sideshow Saturday.
Finally fucking got Tinderbox.
Finally.
Yeah.
Only took
they wanted me to talk to you too. Like you reached out to them about using one of their videos, but if you did, they didn't see it. And they were wondering about that.
I did reach out to them.
Yeah, no, but they you did reach out to them. They said cool, but they never saw you use their video. Oh, okay. Did you play one of their videos?
I did from YouTube.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I just use a YouTube.
Maybe they just didn't notice it or know about it. Yeah. But yeah, they thought you were just like reached out and then didn't do anything.
I reached out, but they never reached back. they never replied.
Oh, they said they did. Either way, well, yeah, pop in on Saturday or that Saturday and be like, hey, what's up with that?
Yeah, I talked to them. I go, hey, can you do this thing? And they just never heard from me. And I go, so I went, all right, cool, it's in YouTube. And then that's...
Yeah, I got a random call from them one night last week, just hanging out, not really doing much, and bam, I get a video messenger from Katie and Todd Gardner, and I pop it open, and it's like Tinderbox and Hot Todd Lincoln, and I'm like, oh my God. I was super excited.
Yeah. But that, and then, I don't know, then I guess we'll just figure out what we want to talk about next week.
Yeah, I mean, shit, we brought up a couple of things. I've had a couple people ask me because they realize when they, Facebook sucks for that, but, they keep seeing the post about, the ghost, and like, when are y'all doing that again? And I was like, man, that was a fun episode, but like, I don't want to keep doing that over and over. I'd be cool with it being recurring, but
I think once a month
we just did it like 2 weeks ago, so.
I think a once a month thing.
I'm down to do like once a month or something.
Yeah, I figured that. Like that's we still got.
Yeah, or maybe we could see if anybody has any. I mean, I don't want to limit it to ghosts. Like, do you want to lump all paranormal in, like ghosts, aliens?
Well, like just see if people just have a weird story that's involves in supernatural in general.
Yeah, just supernatural in general. Like, I mean,
I can we can put something in the.
I don't have anybody watching right now, but like. Have you seen a cryptid before? You think you saw the chupacabra or something? I think I saw a skinwalker one time, but I can't be sure. It might have just been a drunk dude. It was really dark on a mountain. I also think I saw a UFO that night. So, who the fuck knows? I was on Canyon Lake, and like view over the water. It was really pretty. There was the other side of the mountain across from us, and all of a sudden this thing just kind of like appears, and it's a light, and it's like going over the other side, and I could see the light emanating on the trees and the houses below it, and then it just kind of went zip, gone, and then like right in front of me, like I couldn't see like 20 feet in front of me because it was so dark, and there was something a little up that looked like a person that was hunched over on all fours trying to walk that way. Definitely not a deer, because I know how deer walk, I know how deer move, and there were plenty of deer there that like I would have seen, but when that happened, the dogs around the neighborhood were all barking like crazy, and that thing was not moving like a deer. It was too big to be a deer.
Okay.
And this is only a couple years ago, so.
Maybe that's what we'll put up. I'll put something on the group or the page saying, hey, send us your supernatural stories, anything you experience, whether it's ghost stories, UFOs, cryptids, whatever. And we'll see what comes out of that. Maybe we can do a show based on the weird stuff we can see for people like that. If not necessarily this upcoming show, but maybe a future show in the near future, depending on how many stories we get.
I mean, it doesn't have to be the next show, but also I'd like to do have people call in. I mean, try and keep them a little short and sweet. Like, I mean, just kind of talked a lot with my mom, but, we've got a lot of stories together, but I'm down to be like, hey, you got a story, keep it about to 5 minutes. We'll let you call in. We'll talk about it a little bit. Keep people on maybe 10 minutes. Have like 3 or 4 people on. I think that'd work out really well.
Okay, yeah. We'll put that up. That's not a problem. I can make notes of that. Anyway, so we're at the hour mark. So thank you guys who have tuned in. We've had pretty consistent tuners, at least 3, up to 4. We appreciate that, at least for the initial viewing, because we still people see you afterwards. So if you didn't watch this live, you missed out on having these great conversations, because you can actually talk, because we like talking to people. Which really, I'm just glad that nobody's asking us to convert to Islam. So
that was fun.
I did have fun with that, to be fair. But it's still one of those weird kind of go.
Yeah, for sure.
But be safe, be cool, be groovy. I'll say your plugs are. So you've got. It's in theory. There's a Cooter and Scabs on Thursday.
In theory, it just kind of happens when it happens now.
Oh, okay, that's cool. So just keep tuned to social media to see whenever Cooter and Scabs get back together. And then, of course, Sideshow Saturdays, every Saturday, starting at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time with the Boob Tube. Then we get Stupid Boobzilla, yeah. Then we get the Stupid Live Stream with Stupid People, and then ending out the night with the G-Spots. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes.
All right, you guys be cool, be groovy, and we will see everybody soon.
Bye.
Bye.